Welcome to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, created and hosted by Scott Knudsen, to explore the crossroads of horses and business. Now here's your host, Scott Knudsen.
Hi, and welcome to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. I'm your host, Scott Knudsen. Thank you so much for joining us today, whether you're listening to us or watching our podcast. We appreciate you. Today, we got a special guest. Patti Carter is on the show. Patti is a Senior Director of Education and Officials for the National Reining Horse Association, and she's a 2005 Professional Horsewoman of the Year for the American Quarter Horse Association. That's incredible. Patti, thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, I am so honored to be on the show. I love what you're doing and the message you're sending. And I'm a big podcast listener. They are so inspirational for me. And so I'm all about the podcast, and it's a lot of work, and it's a passion, and it's a great way to give back to the industry. So you're always a giver. You've supported the AQHA Crisis Fund, and just love what you're doing. Kudos.
Oh, thanks for saying that. My goodness. We just have a
true.
great team from Steve on, with him producing the show, and that helps so much, but man, what an honor. I'm so glad you're on. I'm so glad our audience gets to hear you and see you, and hear some stories, just horse stories in general, and get some inspiration from your life and everything you're doing.
Yes.
So let's talk about you. That's so much more important than me, for sure. So tell me, when you were growing up, were you surrounded with horses, or did you get into horses later in life?
No, horses is in my blood. My parents, they carved a living out of the horse industry. My dad worked in a factory during the day and was manager of a factory. And then at night, he'd ride breakout thoroughbreds. And my mom, her first horse, she rode, of course, she had work horses that they used on the farm, but she would ride them. And her first horse that she bought, she thought you taught it tricks. So she taught it how to rear up and all this, crazy stuff. And then she went to a horse show and realized, well, you shouldn't, be teaching them how to rear up.
Yeah.
So I have been, really blessed with my parents. We've always made our living in the quarter horse industry, and they trained. My mom actually was the very first AQHA world champion in '74 in the trail.
Wow.
I think I've got ribbons from my dad from '56 from their open shows. I've got them in a shadow box. They are just, my mom's no longer with me, but with us, but my parents have always had a passion for horses, and I grew up with that passion, not really knowing any other lifestyle. My brother, he would take me fishing, motorcycle riding, play chess, read books. I mean, he tried to, expose me to as many different things, but the horses was how I grew up, and horses and art. That's what I've done my whole life.
I love that so much. So I love the generational piece too. And,
Yes.
and what would they think, from the ribbons and first shows, with your parents to you becoming a professional horsewoman of the year?
Yes.
That's such an incredible journey. And there's so many people that just
Such
want
a
to be in the industry. And here
Yes.
you are at the elite portion of the industry.
Yeah, but it's, it truly is a journey. And I mean, I think
Hmm.
that's why I get so much out of the podcast, because I want to know how other people's journey was, and hopefully my journey inspires somebody else, because there's so many ways to make a living in the horse industry. And if you've got a passion for the horses, and you just got to kind of find your niche. And you look at Tim Kimura, he makes his living drawing trail horses and teaching people all over the world. He's an industry changer. And I think back on, I trained, judged horse shows, trained, coached all over the world. And it's amazing the people that you meet because of horses, and the places you go, and the stories. Everybody's got a story, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's an incredible industry, and there's so many people that want to get in the industry, and some aren't generational like you and I, and some are want just to be a part of it. And that's what I love, though. It's such a vast industry. There's so many opportunities for entrepreneurs. You can create your niche and get
Absolutely.
in the industry, and just that's the best. What do you think is the best way for somebody to break into the industry?
Well, I think that you've got to, I think it's always good to apprentice with somebody. If you think you're going to, you want to be a trainer, to apprentice, go ride. It's just such a hard way to make a living, but um, you get to be with horses, and if you have that passion, then it doesn't seem that it's not that hard.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely.
I was a great employee, coming in because I was self-employed until I went to the American Quarter Horse Association in 2011. And I mean, you work from can to can't, and that's your you learn how to have grit and focus and stamina, and the judging teaches you focus, and every little thing that has happened to me in my life has led me to where I am today. Um, this morning I was out walking my dogs, and I was thinking about, my mom was such an amazing horsewoman. And, even at in her 80s, there would be a lineup of people driving in their driveway to take lessons from her. And
Wow.
she could teach any horse and rider. It didn't matter how little cadence and rhythm that they had, or how untalented the rider was. She could teach them how to change leads. And I think of those things that she taught me about shoulders and rib cages, and um, eh, those things that are with me today. And you know, I had my one time I called her. I used to talk to her every morning, and my dog was sore. And she said, "Well, have you checked his foot? Does he have a stone in it?" I was like, "Duh, that's what you do with a horse." I mean, she was,
I love
just
that.
just incredible. And they had, AQHA. I don't know, 14 or 15 AQHA champions, two Supreme champions. And so all those things, those tidbits you learn. And I remember my daughter, when she was 4 years old, going up to client's horse and going, "I think your curb chain's too tight." I mean, it's just, I don't know.
That's so awesome.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
that's
think,
so cool.
going back to the question is, breaking into the industry, you've got to just expose yourself to it any way that you can. And, there's all different kinds of ways. And of course, I'm a Christian, and
Hmm.
I know that God has given us all talents, and you've got to find out what those talents are. And your talents seem really easy, and like I'm a judge's stewards girl, and that's the gift that God has given me to serve. And so you need to be open to those opportunities in the direction that he's sending you.
Man, I love that so much, and
Mhm.
that probably what you said a little bit earlier should be the title of the show, "From Can to Can't."
That's
And
right.
that's absolutely our industry and the
Yes.
Western industry, and also entrepreneurs. If you're in business
Yeah.
for yourself, that has to be your motto, because it is tough. And there's a lot of people that want to be in our industry that might not want to train a horse or ride a horse, but like you said earlier, they can sketch or they can draw or take pictures, and um,
Yes, involved in the broadcasting, or,
absolutely,
RFD TV, or writing for TV shows. I mean, there's
yeah,
so many opportunities to serve in the industry, and to be around horses and horse people that are the very best. I don't care what
yeah,
kind of horses that you have. Horse people are the best. I've never met a bad kid that's been involved in the horse industry. And
absolutely.
it's just it's amazing to watch it evolve.
Yeah, I love it so much. So tell us, do you remember your first show that you went to where you were actually showing your first horse?
Absolutely,
Well, tell us
absolutely.
about it. What was
So
it like?
okay, so my horse was his name was Johnny Yuma.
Johnny
He
Yuma.
was Johnny Yuma, I love that name. And he was my sister's horse. And he, I think I won the horsemanship and I won leg wraps, Velcro leg wraps for
Oh my.
first place in the horsemanship. And yeah, so he was a really, really cool horse and open horse. And yeah, so being a horse trainer's kid, you learned how to make the best out of the horses that you had to ride because
Right.
you didn't have your parents didn't have the wherewithal to I never did without anything, but I know it was always a stretch to try to my parents did the very best that they could. And you get a horse, and my dad would get sale horses in and I'd ride them and then go show them. And yeah, it was just, you learned so much about training horses and how a horse's mind and body works I mean, I got along with the most difficult horses because that's what I had to do growing up is you took the best that your folks could come up with and you made it as good as you could.
Absolutely. And I
Mhm.
think it makes us better horse people for sure.
Oh,
Working with
absolutely.
different kinds of horses, but also it gives the horse another opportunity.
Yes. And I always had the philosophy you tried to find um what the best skill your horse had. And just because you do the hunter under saddle, maybe it wants to be a driving horse. Or I spent 5 years doing hunters. That's all I focused on
Wow.
was the hunters. And I made those hunters drive and do different things so they were versatile. But a horse will always tell you if they're doing something that they're physically capable of doing. And one of my favorite things to do is look at horses. And it doesn't matter if it's in a pasture, at a sale, when I'm judging. I just love looking at conformation and how a horse works the way it does. And how they function form to function and their skeletal structure. And I'm nerdy like that.
Wow.
um, Went to a great workshop last weekend at the Cowboy Museum with Bobby Ingersoll. He was inducted into the Cowboy Hall of Fame, and he had a workshop on the vaquero horsemanship.
Wow.
And oh my gosh, it was so
So
great. And my
incredible.
mom was an avid reader. And so we grew up, I'm from Ontario, Canada, but we grew up with a West Coast training philosophy. And you started with a snaffle, and went to Hackmore, and there was that progression of developing a horse and developing a horse's mouth. And that's what my mom studied and what she imposed on me. So um, it's kind of interesting.
I love it, man. They're magical creatures to me, majestic.
Yes.
I love watching every part and how it's supported by four hooves and what they do for us. They put food on our table and or just for
Yes.
enjoyment. And uh, I love it. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit. We don't have very much. Oh, it's going so fast.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit more. So, how did you get involved with training? How did you just naturally progress into training horses? Um,
I did. I fell in love with when I was 9 years old. I fell in love with a horse called Little Dolly Joe, and she did not have her right lead. And so that was my deal, is I had to teach Little Dolly Joe her right lead. And in Ontario, we didn't have a indoor arena. And
oh,
so it was riding up and down the road in the wintertime. Carved a path in the snowbanks. We would take 18 horses to a horse show in March. And it was just crazy trying to, oh, it was so cold. It was so
oh
cold.
man, that you're full of grit. That's all I know.
I have grit. I have grit. I do. And yeah, so anyways, I fell in love with her, and I just that's just one thing led to another. And of course, being kid of horse trainers, that there was always something to ride. And I just kind of and back in that time, people owned horses and they'd watch them show. They weren't involved like they are now.
Mhm.
And so there was a lot of horses to show. And um, I just it I was going to go to art school. Actually, I wanted to go to the Toronto um, school of art, and I wanted to design album covers. I
Oh
was really
my,
artsy.
that's a good fact right there.
I know. That was my gig, right? And I always knew I'd be involved in the horses. And then the Archeses came to our farm um, looking for horses, and they had not owned horses. They were brand new in the industry, didn't own a horse. And they bought their first horse from my family and wanted somebody to come over to kind of show them the ropes. And my dad said, "Oh, she'll go." So I was 19 years old, went to Italy, didn't speak the language. They didn't speak very good English. Um, and it just, that was it. Sucked me right in, and it's no looking back. But
Such a cool story.
my art has really circled back around, because when I was at AQHA, I would draw a lot of patterns. And, to me, pattern development is so important. I learned that from Tim Kimura, and the balance of a pattern in an arena. And you always want to challenge people to become better horsemen through the patterns that you draw, and then drawing at the different levels. So my art has really, it circled back around and has served me well. And in, everything that you do in life, kind of every experience you have, good or bad, builds you to the next experience in your journey.
Man, that's so cool. And I love how it circled back for you.
Yeah, it's good. It's great.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back on the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show with Patti Carter. Stay tuned.
Thank you for listening to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. Scott will be right back with more. For more information on Scott Knudsen, the Cowboy Entrepreneur, visit us online at cowboyentrepreneur.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Knudsen, host of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, heard on KCAA Fridays, 3 p.m. Pacific. I'd like to talk to you about something I'm very passionate about. Those that know me know I love my coffee. In the morning, afternoon, and even late in the evening, I enjoy a good cup of coffee almost any time of the day. Now, my team at the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show has been working for several months on creating and introducing our own brand of coffee. We wanted to make sure that we got it just right. We don't want to put our name on anything unless we're 100% certain that it's the best product available, and we've finally done it. We have created a wonderful line of coffees, 13 fantastic flavors offered in whole bean, ground, and K-cups, any way you like to brew your coffee. Now, each of our coffees carries our brand, the very same brand that we put on our horses, our trailers, and our chaps. So you know that this is a quality product. And we only use 100% Arabica beans, the very best beans available. Just listen to some of these wonderful blends and flavors. Jamaican Me Crazy, Honduran San Marcos, Chocolate Cherry Amaretto, Breakfast Blend, and my very favorite, Haley's Blend. A coffee so good, we named it after my daughter. You can order these coffees today by going online to javacowboy.com. That's javacowboy.com. And if you order today, you can get an extra 10% off your final purchase just by entering the promo code COWBOY on checkout. Remember, that's promo code COWBOY for an extra 10% off. Just go to javacowboy.com to order your coffee today. Hi, welcome back to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. Today's guest is Patti Carter, and man, it's such an amazing time. She's the Senior Director of Education and Officiating for the National Reining Horse Association. We're going to talk about the Reining Association here shortly, but we've talked a little bit about training horses and growing up in the industry and coaching. So how did you get into judging?
Well, my dad is a very accomplished judge. He's 80 this year. He still judges. He monitors horse shows. He's I call a card-carrying citizen. And I was in my late 20s, and I thought, maybe that's the next progression for me the next thing for me to do, to be, I know when you become a judge, you become a better showman because you've got a different perspective. And I'm always a student of the game and want to be always making things better. So I did not tell my dad I wanted to be a judge because he was this, accomplished horseman and on the AQHA judges committee. And, I wanted to make sure I wanted to judge horse shows because of me, not because of trying to please my dad.
Right.
So anyways, when I came to that point, I shared with him that I wanted to do it. And I said, do you think I should, try for a different card? He said, no, just go for your quarter horse card. So I, studied, and I had judged some open shows, and that's the route that I went. And then I think my next card that I got was actually my reining horse card. And by the end of it, I was a card carrying citizen. I had my APHA card, NSBA, NRHA, NRCHA. I was a double A judge there. I judged Appaloosas, was, fortunate enough to judge the Congress several times, all the world shows across all the breeds, the Appaloosas, the Palominos, the Paints, the quarter horses, judged 2 World Equestrian Games. I did quite a lot. I'm still actually maybe I'm on the top 100 list for the number of shows judged for NRHA still.
How awesome is that?
Yes, and became a director for AQHA, and of course, when I went to work for AQHA, I had to give up all my judging cards. But I'm circling back around now that I'm at NRHA, and I've got Gary Carpenter is like the best boss ever, and I'm going to go back and get my cow horse card, and I'm on the APHA judges list again.
Wow.
So
Incredible.
I love judging. I mean, I love it. I
Right.
love, love, love it. I love judging. And of course, I've been able to make my living doing it from a different capacity, from an education side of things. But, I want to go back and judge again, because I think it's so important to be able to sit in the chair, make those decisions, have those, making those decisions and go, I wish I would have done this or that, or it makes you so much better at what you do. And I want to make sure that I stay connected to what judges go through and that thought process and how hard they work to stay educated. So it's something I love to do, and I know I'm good at it. So um, why not get back into the field now that I
Heck
have that
yeah.
opportunity?
And that's awesome you do that, and it does help. It makes everybody better. But
Yeah.
it's a tough spot to be in for sure, because it's either the families that are helping the kids go to an event, or it's the professionals making their living,
Yes.
so there's a lot of pressure in that chair.
Yes, there really is. People spend a lot of money breeding horses, training.
Hmm.
Even at the basic level, people are putting their heart and soul into
Really?
what they're doing, and they're going down the road and spending money, and to be able to,
Yeah.
a judge always drives the industry either in a good or bad way, and I want to be able to want to be one of those people that's driving it in a good way. And I am very service oriented. So when you're judging, you're serving the industry. You're sure not doing it to make a lot of money. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, it's you're giving.
I love that. I love that so
Yeah,
much. I love that heart for sure. And
yeah.
it's so good, when you're in the arena and you're trying to do the right thing, to have that judge that is a giving judge that wants the best for the rider and the horse.
And as a judge, a good judge is always trying to see it with clear eyes. And I've been fortunate enough to be around great judge monitors and judges like my dad. There's so
Hmm.
many great judges that have become friends and monitors. Bill Link, him and I have become really good friends, and he's like a life coach. Um, and you're always just trying to see it with clear eyes, and you're always trying to get it better. And everybody makes mistakes. Good judges make less mistakes, but everybody makes mistakes, and it keeps you humble and it keeps you human for sure. Horses have
I
a
love that.
great way of keeping you humble, whether you're judging them or riding them or
Oh my
showing them.
goodness. Absolutely. They do. Absolutely. That's what I love about them,
Yeah.
They do keep you humble. So let's talk. So how did you join up with the National Reining Horse Association?
Well, of course, I was an approved judge, so I was a judge, a reining horse judge for 10 years. And the position came open, and they approached me about looking into it. And I'd been at AQHA for 11 years and did a lot of great things at AQHA. My first task when I went there was to implement the leveling program. I was part of a task force called the Blue Ribbon Task Force, and they brought me in as staff to try to implement that. So I worked with the Blue Ribbon Task Force, and we took the competition model as it was and threw it up in the air and started all over again. And that was my grit paid off there, because people do not like change.
No.
And it's been just the best thing. Every sport has a leveling type of system. We just had to figure out what was going to be the best for AQHA, and it has leveled the playing field. As a matter of fact, I was talking to a director from the Ohio Quarter Horse Association this week, and they're going to start splitting out their level 2 classes at the Congress. And I know that model works. If you give people a place where they feel comfortable competing, they're going to come and compete. They don't have to feel like they're going to win, but they have to feel like they're not going to be embarrassed, and they have a place to show. And so we implemented with the task force the leveling program, implemented the level 1 championship shows. They're so successful bringing people into in associations like a pyramid, and you've got to have your base of people that to lift up the industry. And so it was great. I had the opportunity to be involved with the pros, and then the stewards, and to gain that animal welfare piece ties back to my family and my upbringing, and the welfare of the horse. So I feel like my time at AQHA groomed me for my transition to NRHA, and I crave good leadership.
Uh-huh.
And Gary Carpenter, I've been, involved with Gary on the Animal Welfare Commission, in different. He worked at AQHA before I had been there, but we've crossed paths throughout our lifetime. And him and Mary and his wife are just lovely people, and he is such a great leader. And it was an opportunity to get to work under his leadership. And I'm just it was a God thing. God closed all the right doors and opened up the other ones, and
I love it.
here I am, from Ontario to Amarillo, and Amarillo to Oklahoma City.
Isn't that amazing? But you know
It
what? You have the
is.
fortitude to say yes.
Yeah,
And I think that's such
absolutely.
an important part of it is you said yes and went in faith to do it.
Well, and it's an opportunity. I miss the quarter horse people, but it's there's a lot of crossover, and the reining horse community is just fantastic. And again, the horses are so athletic, and NRHA is on fire, and it's just so amazing to be a little part of that industry, and have the opportunity to work with the judges committee, the stewards committee, and the pros. And again, just work alongside of them. We've got great committee members on all 3 committees, and it's an honor to work alongside of them, and help implement some of their vision, and some of the things they want to get accomplished. So
I love it.
it's such a blessing. I've been here a year already, and it's just flowing by, just
Well, there's
flowing
so
by.
many personalities and so many great people in the reining world. And would you mind just describing what is a reining horse and how does that work? Because there's people watching and listening that's really has never seen a reining horse. And I
Sure.
think they're
Yeah.
going to enjoy this.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And, if somebody's never seen a reining horse, a lot of people have seen Yellowstone now, and Taylor
Yeah.
Sheridan has really opened up the eyes to a lot of people by featuring the reining cow horses and the cutters on Yellowstone. But it's, they've got set patterns, and um, a horse runs those set patterns, and they're judged on their controlled speed and their finesse and their attitude and their athletic ability. Each pattern is broken down into maneuvers,
Mhm.
and each maneuver is scored on a scale of -1.5 to +1.5. And then there's penalties that, if there's an error in the pattern, there's a list of penalties that are deducted. The score starts at 70 and goes
Right.
up and down from there. But they're just, true athletes. And those horses go out and they just, it's just unbelievable. I mean,
Beautiful.
every the breeding, the athleticism, um, they just keep getting better and better, and it's been really fun to be involved in the horse industry, in the reining, judging 10 years ago, and keeping abreast of it while I was at AQHA, because we dealt, NRHA was an alliance partner with AQHA,
Mhm.
and seeing that progression. But to be able to roll up your sleeves and get into the heart of the industry and see how far it's come, and the horses are, the horsemen are amazing. um it's just so much fun.
Yeah, I love it. Because there is horsemen, horsewomen, and even the youth division is just so fun to watch. But the horses are progressing so quickly.
They
When they
are.
build up the speed and then they do the slide stop and the spins are so beautiful. And you
Yes,
can just see the athleticism. But there's an art to it as well. And once again, we're circling back to art, but there really is when you watch the
there
rider and
is.
the horse together, it's
there
beautiful.
there's a connection and in a communication. And those horsemen that are at the top of their game know how to connect with their animals, and there's that connection which just puts them over the top in the level four. But like everything, there's beginning levels in the reining where you can ride two-handed, and you can do simply changes, and you can get the feel of what it's like to ride a reining horse. There's a list of professionals that if you go to NRHA.com, there's a great resource list of professionals that you can search by state or province or country,
Mhm.
and find a professional near you that will help you, introduce you to the Western lifestyle.
Oh, I just hope somebody does that, and I'm sure they will. Just go to the NRHA website because
Yes,
there is so much information and it's so fun to watch some of the videos and see the pictures and just see the smiles and and
absolutely.
and I love the directory too because it's easy to use
It
and
is.
and you can just scale down to where you are and you can find somebody and see if it's something you want to do. And I'm probably pretty sure most people are going to want to try it.
Yeah, and if they go to NRHA.com, there's a drop down box for the shows, and you can look at all the shows. There's a link that takes you to that specific show. So it's a great resource if you want to see if there's a reining competition in you know in the area.
Where do you see, Patty, like some of the newer association members coming from? Are they more in the agriculture, maybe in the rural areas? Or are you seeing more from the urban areas trying to come out because of the different TV shows and the
Yeah,
success of reining?
yeah, I think there's a lot from the urban, the agricultural people always be there.
Mm,
And I see that strengthening. My daughter has her own business now in Ontario, and she's starting a 4-H program, and I think she told me she has 25 kids in her 4-H that have signed up.
I love
And
that.
I know she's doing such a great job bringing people into the industry. She has got a great lesson program going on, and so I see that the the Taylor Sheridan and Teton Ridge, and um, those people that are putting such a spotlight on the Western horse industry is so needed, and it's bringing people in. We like with NRHA, we had a 3% increase in memberships last year.
Wonderful.
Yeah, had a 14% increase in events worldwide. The
Awesome.
money is increasing. It's just, it's just amazing how the industry is exploding, and it's because it is inclusive. You can do it with your family. You can start at entry level, um, and it's fun to watch. And I'm going to go to the NRBC this weekend. I think they've got 1,600 stalls sold,
Wow.
and they had an added day onto the front end of it, and it's just fun to watch. It's a fun event.
It's so fun because I think all the technology too is helping. I think the trainers are getting better about sharing on social media, and the associations are sharing on social media, and it just helps people see it, and then they
Yes,
want to become a part of it once they see how welcoming it is, and once they go, everybody's friendly. It's competitive for sure, but that makes you better. But they want to
it
help you
does.
too. So it's
They
all going to help.
really really do. It's fun. It's fun to be a student of the game.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the personalities in reining. Maybe your favorite reining horse you've ever been able to ride and or judge, and talk about putting on a horse show. And
Oh yeah.
yeah. So we're going to try and cover all that in the next segment. But man, we're having a great time, and thanks for watching and listening to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. And we'll be right back after this break.
Thank you for listening to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. Scott will be right back with more. For more information on Scott Knudsen, the Cowboy Entrepreneur, visit us online at cowboyentrepreneur.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Knudsen, host of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, heard on KCAA Fridays, 3 p.m. Pacific. I'd like to talk to you about something I'm very passionate about. Those that know me know I love my coffee. In the morning, afternoon, and even late in the evening, I enjoy a good cup of coffee almost any time of the day. Now, my team at the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show has been working for several months on creating and introducing our own brand of coffee. We wanted to make sure that we got it just right. We don't want to put our name on anything unless we're 100% certain that it's the best product available, and we've finally done it. We have created a wonderful line of coffees, 13 fantastic flavors offered in whole bean, ground, and K-cups, any way you like to brew your coffee. Now, each of our coffees carries our brand, the very same brand that we put on our horses, our trailers, and our chaps. So you know that this is a quality product. And we only use 100% Arabica beans, the very best beans available. Just listen to some of these wonderful blends and flavors. Jamaican Me Crazy, Honduran San Marcos, Chocolate Cherry Amaretto, Breakfast Blend, and my very favorite, Haley's Blend. A coffee so good, we named it after my daughter. You can order these coffees today by going online to javacowboy.com. That's javacowboy.com. And if you order today, you can get an extra 10% off your final purchase just by entering the promo code COWBOY on checkout. Remember, that's promo code COWBOY for an extra 10% off. Just go to javacowboy.com to order your coffee today. Hi, and welcome back to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show with Patti Carter. Patti is a Senior Director of Education and Officials for the National Reining Horse Association and the 2005 Professional Horsewoman of the Year for the American Quarter Horse Association. I just smile saying it. I'm just so proud of you. That's just such a great honor, and I'm so glad you're on the show. So let's talk National Reining Horse Association personalities, because that's always fun to see and be around. And them so much better than maybe someone that's viewing it on TV or from the stands. Would you mind talking a little bit about that?
Not at all. And I think the show. If you haven't seen the last Cowboy, they've got those segments, which really is a deep dive into those those background personalities of the top end riders and their trials and tribulations and their real life struggles. That's always a fun opportunity. And then the other thing is Scott McCutcheon has a show on YouTube called The Show, and they always have great personalities in there, and it's very impromptu, and it really gives you. I love listening to them because it gives you a real strong background. Of course, I've always been really good friends with Sean Flaherty all the way through. He's helped us at the Youth World Cup, and he's always been a mentor. I can call him anytime. He's just just a great human being. Of course, growing up on the the East Coast, it's, he's always been good. And Matt Lance and Donnie and Ed Bricker Hoot. Just it, the judges committee. We've got on our judges committee, we have Bob Kale, and he's across from AQHA, and Bub Poplin, Craig Schmersall, Doug Allen, Eugenio Latore, who's our chair, and he is the first international chair that NRHA has had for any committee. So
Wow.
he's originally from Italy. We grew up together when I spent, like a lot of time in Italy, and we grew up together, and our cause have passed the game. Jared Leclerc, Mike Bartman, Margaret Fuchs, Matt Lance, Mike McIntyre has always been a great friend and mentor from California. As a matter of fact, last year when I first started, I flew out and rode with him for a day, and we just sat and scored horses. I, did everything I could to, get myself, back in the game, and watching the maneuver evaluations and rebuffing up
Yeah.
at that top end. So we've got Todd Summers on our judges committee. So we've just got Ollie Griffith. We've got just a great
So many good people.
cross section. Yeah. And the reining professionals, the judges, the pros, and the stewards, they all kind of cross. It's a smaller community than it is at AQHA, and they're really getting, I think, comfortable with calling me with their concerns and just different ideas. And Jared Leclerc, he said, let's get together and I'm calling it a jam session at Jared's, and we're inviting the professionals from his area in May, and we're just going to bring up 10 runs, and we're going to hopefully get a lot of professionals that aren't judges and have them judge 10 runs and look at the spreads from everybody's runs, then go back and talk them through it. And just, different ideas to keep the education flowing. Something else we've just finished, we're in the process of uploading it. We've taken our maneuvers evaluation. And so what we do is we go through and we verbally we've done a voiceover of each maneuver through a -1.5 to a +1.5.
Love that.
And it's really well done. And, this is a 0, and this is why it's not a +0.5. If they did this, it would be a +0.5. It's for the first time we've verbalized that maneuver evaluation tape. And it's a product of just those personalities. And, of course, I'm in awe of Casey Deary and, how he shows his horses. And there's, they're just such great horsemen. So I'm really looking forward to getting to know more of the industry leaders and the people that are just coming in. I've met some lovely people that are just starting, and they're so eager, and it's great from start to stop.
Well, I love you saying that so much, because I think that education is so important to attract new people, because then they can understand it. And you're breaking it down on such a level that it makes it easy to get into reining horses. And
Yes.
once they're in it, I mean, they're going to be hooked for sure, but it makes it easier. They can understand what's going on. And, but when you mentioned in some of those, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And if they know, what a judge is looking for in a +0.5 maneuver and why that is a +0.5 maneuver, it ultimately makes the judge's job easier, because now they know what a +0.5 maneuver should look like, and they're going to strive for that.
Absolutely.
So, it's like
absolutely
full circle. People love to learn. I mean, look at the equine affair events. I mean, people are there they're like myself. They're just trying to learn stuff and learn how to do it better, their craft and their hobby better.
Yeah, the horse is always teaching us too. It's just whether we're going to listen and learn. And I love that. Every day I learn something from the horse. Whether it's the way they treat another horse or the whatever. But there's always something to learn. I love the education aspect of it, and I love how serious y'all take that. And I love some of the names, because in other sports, which this is a sport, You're talking about the Tom Brady's and the Joe Montana's, the biggest of the biggest, helping create
Absolutely.
something to get new people into the industry and to compete with them eventually. And I think
Yes.
that's such a giving nature from some
Well,
of the
and
top riders.
it really is, and Andrea Papani, he has, his podcast Along for the Ride, and the
Uh-huh.
people that he has on there, he's just done such a great job, and he's a $7 million rider,
Yeah.
and you can appreciate how much effort it takes to put a podcast on, and there's another top industry leader bringing all these different concepts into the reining world, and just kudos to him and his family,
Right.
and the legacy that he's leaving behind and building. And of course, the McQuays,
So much.
they're that's just NRHA and McQuays. I mean, that just goes together.
It
Yeah,
does, but that relationship
yeah,
with everybody you mentioned, it's setting it for the next generation. It's setting
it
it for
is.
people inside the urban area that wants to have a part of this, and
Yes,
that's what's so great. And
yeah,
I just thoroughly enjoy it. And I listen to those podcasts, and I'm always trying to not just so much get better, but I love hearing the stories, and I love hearing the
yes.
education part, and I appreciate that. So let's talk about you. What was it like riding your first reining horse, like your top tier reining horse, or maybe judging your first clinic when you're in that elite level?
Well, so my first reining horse that I trained myself. We had a 3-year-old Futurity, and you had to, be the top 3-year-old in the 3-year-old events, placing all the way across. So it was, confirmation, it was the hunter under saddle, it was the reining, it was the Western pleasure. So again, a true American quarter horse can, do it all really
Hmm.
well. And I had a talented individual. And so I won my first reining buckle on a 3-year-old on him that I had trained, and we won the saddle. And so, so that was fun. And I've just, messed around. I had the opportunity to ride with Al Dunning a little bit. And now I'm, um, being here in Oklahoma City. Todd, who is again one of my heroes. My heroes have always been cowboys and cowgirls. I will tell
Yeah,
you that. I
yeah,
will,
absolutely.
um, yeah, and so I've been able to, ride with him, and you turn around and you stop and you think you're going to throw up, and you go, oh, okay, that was probably a plus half, maybe it was a plus one. And working with those their kids on stopping, and just being exposed to that has been really great. I'm forever grateful for Todd Crawford for everything he brings to the industry. And
Mhm.
I tell him all the time. I said, when you ride one of Todd's horses, they're so good in their faces, and they've got beautiful mouths, and just knowing the effort it takes to, and the thoughtfulness it takes in training a horse to have them, soft in their mouths is just something I just admire him. He's such an amazing horseman.
Oh,
So
I love that. I love that. And
yeah.
an important part of the industry, the whole industry, and also the reining is putting on horse shows, and that's one more
Yeah.
thing you've done very well. And
Hmm.
if you go to a bad horse show, it's so bad because it's you, your horse, your money, it's everything. But
Yeah.
a good horse show, there's nothing better to go to. Would you
Yeah.
explain kind of the tips to help somebody watching this or listening how to put on a good horse show?
Well, it's all about customer service. It's about when you drive into the gates at the horse show, and somebody greeting you, and you know if you've never been there before, telling you which direction to go. I think another key piece is if you've got stalls in your stalling situation. Probably stalling horses is the worst job of putting on a horse show. Those people are, you're having to put a piece of the pieces of the puzzle together, and people don't show up, and they change their number count, and you're just always trying to juggle it. So, I mean, I think that's, getting into the gate, being happy with where your stalls are, friendly staff,
Hmm.
those are all key pieces. If something goes wrong, doing something for the exhibitor, and having people sponsor donuts and bagels and coffee in the morning. Just those customer service things. your two people that are going to run your horse show, the smoothest is your announcer and your gate person, and they've got to be working together. And then another part of that is, a judge, and we teach our judges, they're part of the show management team, and make their job easier and help them out. It's doing what you can, and really, being organized. I did an online degree. So that's one of the things. I didn't go to school because I got sucked into the horse business. So I got my associate's degree online, kind of before COVID and kind of through COVID, and I took event management, and it's about just being organized and having a good team, knowing where your strengths and weaknesses are, and bringing people into your team that are strong, taking care of the people. I'm a big proponent of that. If you got to take care of the people that are coming and working so hard for you. So
I
it's
love that.
there's a lot to putting on a horse show, and God bless the people that do, because there's actually people that, I like putting on horse shows, but I know that there's probably people that don't. I would not be good in the secretary office, and there's people that love that, and God bless them, because
Absolutely. Everybody has a role, and it's finding the right
they
person for the right
do.
role.
It's amazing. It's amazing how that is in life, and to be able to. There's another way to get involved in the horse industry, by being a ring steward or scribing or being a gate person. And Denny Hales, who ran the Quarter Horse Congress, he was the executive director of the Congress till he died. I mean, he started by opening and closing gates, and by the time he got to where he was, he had done every job of every person there, and that's what made him so phenomenal, is being able to do every part and understand every part.
I love that so much. I appreciate that. I'm so glad you said that, because in any business, if you understand everybody's job, you're going to be
Yeah.
able to do your job more efficiently, because there's a little bit of grace you're sharing with other people, and just the
Well, and
outcome is better.
it's so important to take care of the people around you, and be
Hmm.
to be the more leadership that you're given, the more people you have to take care of. Um and
Yeah.
it's you're in charge of that, and so there's a bigger responsibility, and it's important to take care of the people that work so hard for you.
Yeah, I love that. And even at your level, you're taking classes to get better. I think that's so important. I think that's important for people to see and to
Yeah.
follow. You know,
You've got to keep learning, and
yeah,
when you get a judge's card, that's just the beginning. I mean, then that is just the beginning of your learning curve. And the more you ride horses, the more you realize you don't know. And it's like opening up the Bible. Every time you open up the Bible, it's a new adventure. I mean, he was like, I
right.
didn't know that was there. And
Yeah. Where
so
did you
it's,
put that there?
yeah, you got to be. I want to be a student of the game, and in everything I do and in life. And I think that keeps you fresh, and keeps you open to be innovative.
Absolutely. Well, I can't believe our time has come to a close. This has been such a fun show, and Patty, I appreciate everything you're doing for the industry, and the
Thank you.
education part for sure. Bringing in new people is so important,
It is.
and thank you for that, and thanks for taking time to be on our show. And if you're watching or listening to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, we really appreciate you, and please share it and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Cowboy Entrepreneur. And Patty, thanks again.
Thanks, Scott. Right back at you, Scott. It's been a pleasure, and just been so much fun to share a little bit of my journey.
I love it. Thank you very much, and thank y'all for watching the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show.
Thank you to all the great sponsors of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. If you or your business is interested in being a sponsor of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, please call our office at 830-992-1786 or visit our website, cowboyentrepreneur.com.